All right, so again, I'd like to welcome you all out to our April webinar for Healthcare Compliance Pros. Today we are going to be reviewing basic management of your Healthcare Compliance Pros website and managing your employees. We've also had some exciting new changes to the website and some enhancements. And so to start the call today, I'm going to turn the call over to Brian Roberts, who is our Director of Operations, and he's going to explain some of the enhancements and changes that have happened during the past month. Brian?
Perfect. Thanks, Michelle. Like Michelle said, in the past, there have been, for those that are on the call that have been using the service for many months or many years, in the past, we used to have an office admin access level, and as you can see on your screen with our test account here, if you had more than one office in the past, you did have to be a user inside that office and able to manage it. This has caused some issues for some clients in the past. Sometimes they accidentally took their training in an office that they didn't want to, or they were taking their trainings in multiple offices. So to address that, we are excited to announce that we have made some enhancements to our office admin access level, which should affect everyone on this call that has more than one office. To kind of visually show you what some of the major changes are, I'm going to take over control here, and it looks like I do now have control. When we go into an office, if you remember in the past, whenever you want to add an employee or manage your employees, you can just click on the Employees tab. And from the Employees tab, you would see a list of all of your employees, and they're listed by access level. Now, in the past, there used to be the office admins right here at the top. So you would have, listed there. You'll notice that there are no longer any access levels describing office admin. What we have now, if you notice, if we create a new employee, you can select a security level, which is just an employee's training level. And you can select either supervisor, provider, management, or user. Now, if you have a new office admin, if you have a new employee that is going to be managing your security risk analysis, managing the modules, managing reports, or they need that office admin level access, you will actually give them that access at the account level, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But just know that moving forward, when you create a new employee, or if you change the security level or access level for an employee, you still have the same security or access levels, but the office admin is not managed here anymore. To manage an office admin, let me see here, let me get control of the mouse. What we're going to do is we're going to do that up at the office level. So we're technically an office admin with our fictitious person here, Candy Apple. Now, Candy Apple does have access to these three offices. If I click on Clinical Department, this is where Candy Apple takes her training. And so when we come into the Candy Apple office, I can click on My Training, and it should just look very familiar to those that have completed their own trainings as office admins. If I click on the Employees tab, I will also be able to see myself. Now, I'm just designated management. I no longer say office admin at the top. And that's because this is just for me to take my management level training. This is just showing that as an office admin, I am also taking training along with my staff. If I go into any other office where I'm not assigned training, like that first office that we were in, and I click on the employees, you'll notice I still have office admin access. I can still control and manage the entire office just like I could before, but when I look at the employees, I won't be visible with those employees. I'm not listed in here, and that's because I'm not taking or I'm not assigned any training in this office. Hopefully there are many clients that have been requesting this feature. For those clients on the call that have multiple offices and manage their employees via multiple offices, this is going to be nice because you won't have every single manager or every single office admin listed in your list of employees when in fact they're not really taking their training or they're not assigned to that office. They're just there to manage it. So now I'm going to talk about how you can assign an employee to. so they can just manage an office. To do that, we go back to the My Accounts and My Offices screen. And when we go under My Accounts, we click on the Employees tab. And when we click on the Employees tab at the account level, there will be a drop-down tab. So when we click on Employees, you'll still be able to manage all of your employees. All of their certificates and their current training is archived and stored here. But you will also notice there is an Office Admins tab listed here as well. So if I click on Office Admins, this will show me the current Office Admins assigned to this account. And when I click on, for example, myself as an Office Admin or the Candy Apple user here, it will immediately take me to a screen and it shows that I am considered an Office Admin in all these offices. If you have an employee that you just need them to be an Office Admin for one office, you can just check and designate them for one office, or they can be an Office Admin for all offices. Now, when we made this transition, when we've made this change and it was just published this week, any current employees that were designated Office Admins are still an Office Admin. So your functionality hasn't changed a bit. The only thing that has changed is visually you don't see that Office Admin security level at the office. Inside the office, you see it up here at the account level. With that, I do want to take just a second here. If there's anyone on the call, if we have any clients that do have questions on this, I just want to see if there's any possible questions just because this is a new enhancement on the site. So any questions at all from the audience just with regard to this new feature? Just remember, if you do have questions, you can always reach out to us. If you see something that, if you're adding an employee, I think that's the biggest thing. If you're ever going to add a new employee and you want them to have Office Admin access, you don't do that right at the point of when you create the user. You first create the user, and then you come here to the account level. You click on the Employees tab, and let's say, for example, Charlie Brown here is going to be, or Brown Charlie is going to be our new Office Admin. We click on him, and after we click on that employee, we can click over here on the Office Admin tab. And once we click on the Office Admin tab, we can say we want him to be an Office Admin for the clinical department. Once we do, he's not taking training in the clinical department, but we do want him to manage it. So we just click Clinical Department and check that box, and then click Save. Other than that, Michelle, if there aren't any other questions, I'll remain on the call until the end of the webinar, but I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. I'll just go ahead and take over the mouse control. And now, everyone that joined the call for the admin refresher training, we're going to start at the beginning. And what I usually do is just review how you go about logging into the website for the first time. So just as a review, you'll want to go to the URL healthcarecompliancepros.com. You will log in with your email address as your username. So just go on the Profile tab here and review that. So for Candy Apple, here's her email address. That will be her username in logging into the system. And then when we set up your account for the first time, excuse me, we generally give you a default password of the word welcome, all lowercase. So that's probably what you started off with, unless you did give us specific passwords for your employee list. Obviously, if those passwords have changed since you first started, then that would be the way you would log in, that updated password would be used in logging into the system. But this is what the screen looks like when you first log in as an account admin. You've got your name at the top, My Offices on the right, and My Accounts on the left. You'll notice that there's a question mark in a circle here on the gray ribbon, and anytime you see a question mark on the website, on this ribbon, it represents a video tutorial. So clicking on this question mark will open up the video tutorial, and in this case, the video will be about how to manage My Accounts and My Offices and the different items that you'll be able to take care of in each of those areas. If you see this question mark in a different part of the website, obviously it will be a different tutorial. Today, we're going to start in My Accounts, and I'm going to teach you how to customize your training. When you go into My Accounts, it defaults to the top tab on the left-hand side, which is our modules. And this is a list of all of the training, all of the courses that this particular account is using at this point. Now, in order to change customization for any of the courses, you would just click on that account title or the course title, and then you would scroll to the slide that you want to change the customization on. For demonstration purposes today, we'll just use this fourth slide, which is the HIPAA Security Compliance Officer. So let's say that Candy Apple has been the HIPAA Security Compliance Officer for this particular office for quite some time, but she's changing that. You would just take her information and remove it from this text field to the right and replace it with the updated information. So if in your organization you were updating the security officer, you would delete the existing information, replace with the new information. So we'll just put in some verbiage here and I'll show you how it works. Once you put that information into the slide, it then replicates onto the slide that your employees will be able to see when they take their training. Again, as a review, we generally like to change the font and bold it, just because when you're looking at that information from the view of somebody who's actually taking the training, this doesn't really pop on the screen very much. But when we do the customization, changing the font to blue, you have the choice of blue or red here above the text field, and also bolding. That will draw the attention of your trainers a little bit better to that information that you want them to receive. Again, if you want to remove any information from a slide that you've customized, you can just remove it from this text field to the right, save the content, and that information will be removed. On any of the slides in any of the courses, you can update the media portion as well. You can choose a file from your computer, a JPEG picture, and then go ahead and upload that, and that will upload the picture onto the slide. This particular slide doesn't have a picture, so you would probably take a picture with your smartphone of your compliance officer and upload it. But for another slide that perhaps already had existing a stock photography that has been placed onto the slide, you can change that. So if you would prefer to have a different picture on any of the slides, you can go ahead and choose the file, upload, and it will replace the photograph that's on that existing slide. So that's the basic information for updating your customization on your courses. Of course, there are many levels of options that you can use. For example, you can add new slides. Here we've added a test slide just to show you what it looks like when you add a new slide. You can also remove that slide just as easily by clicking delete. So anytime you want to introduce additional training into the courses, if you have more information that you'd like to put in that's specific to your practice, please feel free to do that. And let me show you, there is a video tutorial here again on the gray ribbon that teaches you just about adding customization and managing this this area of your compliance program. The video will teach you things like turning on quizzes, tests, adding pictures, adding videos, adding new slides. So if you're interested in additional customization beyond the point that we have you right now, go ahead and watch that video. I would let you know that once the red setup disappears, that means that that course is totally customized per federal regulations. If you've answered all of the questions that we've given you, then those courses are ready to train on. So every time you see these green check marks, that indicates that those slides are meeting those federal regulations, and you should be ready to train on those courses. Now let's move on to the next item that I wanted to talk to you about today, which is the Reminders Hub. Most of you probably know that the Reminders Hub is the portion of the website that automatically invites the employees to take their training. The training needs to be taken on an annual basis. And once we click on the Reminders Hub, and I'm just going to open up this demo office, there are two drop-downs that appear. The first is the Office Admin Training Report, and let me just explain what that is. That is a report that will come out to you as office admins on we generally have it go out on a monthly basis, and it will just come to you as a report that shows who is currently past due in their training for that particular office. The second drop-down is the training repeat reminders, and this reminder is the one that actually goes out to your employees. So let's just go ahead and preview what this email looks like. So this is a sample of the email that goes out to the employees. You'll notice that there is a very large hyperlink here at the beginning of the email. If your employees click on this hyperlink, it takes them directly into their training. So at the beginning of the call, I showed you how to log in using the URL healthcarecompliancepros.com, using your email address as your username and then perhaps welcome as the password. If you would prefer to have your employees just click to start this training and not need to come to you for the password, please feel free to do so. This is a nice way for them to be able to get right into their training by themselves and not need to come to you to receive that information on their password. If you have any questions about this process, please feel to follow up with us. Go ahead and put a question in the chat box. Just as a reminder, the training will automatically need to be, how do I say this? The training reminder will automatically come out to your employees on an annual basis. So once a year, they'll receive that invitation. If they do not take their training within a month, then another invitation will come out to them. Once they've taken their training, that monthly reminder will go to sleep for a year and will re-engage at the annual anniversary of the time that they took that training. So again, if you have any questions about the Reminders Hub, please feel free to contact us after the call or go ahead and put something in the checkbox. At this point, I'm going to go into the office, again, by clicking on your name at the top of the screen. That takes you from the accounts, and you have the opportunity to go into the offices. So we're going to talk about adding and removing employees and assigning training now. So here we are in the demo account office. I'll click on the Employees tab and just give you a refresher training on how to manage your employees. So the first thing we'll do is talk about creating a new employee. And you do that by clicking the Create New Employee button at the top of the employee field. And it's very simple. You just put in first name, last name, email address. If you're using our corporate compliance services, our Plus service, you would want to put in the date of birth so that we can run your employees through the OIG exclusion list. If you have questions about using that service, of course, you can talk to us about that as well. You would want to put a training start date in if you would like that employee to start on a certain date, give them a password, and then a user level. Again, as Brian was explaining, the management and providers receive additional slides in their training. That's a special training just for managers. They do not have any access to managing your HCP account. Supervisors will be able to access this area that we're in right now, where they can add and remove employees and edit training. And users are just people who will come in and take the regular training. They do not have the extra slides that management and providers do. So that's how you choose the training level. And once you create all of the, once you enter information into all of the fields, just click Save, and that employee will then appear on your employees list. So now that you've got your employees set up, let's discuss how to remove an employee. If someone were to come to you and submit their intent to terminate employment with you, you would want to remove them from the system so they could no longer access their training. You would go into the employees list, click on their name, and then go to this Profile tab that I'm pointing at right now. And once you open the Profile tab, you do have the opportunity to delete the user. Now, many supervisors or account admins ask me at this point, if I delete the user, am I going to lose the training history for this employee? And the answer is no. All of the training records are archived at the account level. So under your Reporting tab at the account level, you will be able to retrieve any historical training from people that you have deleted from the account. So that is how you delete a user. Now the next thing that I'd like to show you is how to edit the training. So the first let's just say you want to edit trainings for an individual. And I'm going to highlight Steve Jones. As you look at this item for Steve Jones, you'll see that he's been assigned both the CME credit courses for HIPAA, Medicare, and OSHA, CME, and also the regular courses, HIPAA, Privacy, Security, Medicare, OSHA. This is not what you want to see. And if you ever see this on your account, you will want to edit. Just make sure that your employees are taking either the CME version or the non-CME version of the courses. Sometimes I see this that a new employee is added and you just add all of the training and then they go in and take all of the training, and they really don't need to do that. They just need to take one or the other. So in this case, we're going to remove the CME courses from Steve Jones' account. Excuse me. And to do that, you just click the minus. The computer will pop up a warning saying that you're removing the training, and you want to do this, so you click OK. We'll remove it from all 3 CME courses. And once that is done, let's just pop back out and see what it looks like. So now that's done, Steve Jones is now just taking the non-CME version of the classes. Now let's say the opposite is true. You see an employee that hasn't been assigned any training. So let's go in and look at Cherry Bomb. Cherry has been assigned no training, and we want to make sure that she is going to take those CME courses. And so I'm just going to hit plus on those, and we'll also invite her to the HR. I do have a chat question that has just come through, and the question is, what's the difference between the CME and regular courses? So let me address that right now. The CME version courses are, are tested, and they come with AMA, which is the American Medical Association, PRA Category 1 continuing medical education credits. So these courses are an excellent source of credits for your providers, for your mid-levels, anyone who has a certification that they need to keep up, if they need to submit CEs for their credentialing on an annual or biannual basis. This is an offering that we do provide. So you can see that they have 3 courses to choose from. If they take each of these CME courses, they get, I believe it's 5.5 credits on an annual basis. These courses are tested, and you have to pass at a 75% pass rate in order to receive the certificate, whereas the non-CME courses are quizzed only. If you are taking the quiz and you get it wrong, you do get an opportunity to submit another answer, at which point, if you get it correct, the system will allow you to move on. So the non-CME courses are quizzed with interactive quizzes that engage the employee, but they are not required to pass at a certain rate in order to receive their certificate, only required to complete the course. If you have any other questions, go ahead and put those in the chat box, and I'll be sure to address them as I'm giving the training today. So now let me go back out to the dashboard. And let's just review a couple of other things that you see on the dashboard. Really, this is where you spend most of your time once you've got your Healthcare Compliance Pros program set up and running. There are several additional tabs here on the left-hand side. Some of these will be available to all of you. Looking at these tools and assessments in the center, if you have chosen to use our OSHA Plus or our HIPAA Plus programs, you'll be able to complete the OSHA Hazard Risk Assessment, the OSHA Self-Inspection, HIPAA Virtual Walkthrough, and Security Risk Analysis with enhanced review. You will also have access to our breach log. So just depending on what services you've purchased at this point, your dashboard might look a little bit different. But let me just go into the security risk analysis, because this is something that's very important that we encourage all of you to complete on an annual basis. The HIPAA security risk analysis helps you to determine your risk level for PHI. And it goes through several different sections. So it starts with your organization, goes into personnel. Let's just look at one of the slides just to give you an idea of what the slides look like on your security risk analysis. Each of the slides will have a bit of a tutorial on the left-hand side explaining why this is an important part of your security program, of your HIPAA program. And then on the right, it will ask you a question, and you can just answer the question and then put your notes here of how this process works in your program. If you're not currently handling this in a way that you feel is meeting the yes, if you've got a no answer, you might want to put a question here, ask some questions. And if you have purchased our enhanced security risk analysis, that question will go to our compliance specialist, and they will work with you on updating your security program. If you do not have that enhanced version of the SRA, you can still use the program, and you'll just, once you're finished, you'll have a nice report showing your risk probability with your high, medium, and low risk areas that then you can present to your perhaps a quarterly staff meeting of upper level, so that you can discuss what you're working on to help your security become more tight and congruent with regulations. So we'll close out of that. By the way, this report is printable. Once you finish one, it is archived. You can go back in and look at past reports that you've created. Another thing that I wanted to show you today is what it looks like when your employees log into their training. You're probably already familiar with this, but just to review, when they click that hyperlink from the Reminders Hub, they will come into My Training. They will be taken right to a screen that looks much like this. They will be able to either start a course that they haven't begun yet, continue a course that they've started in the past. So for example, on this course, we can see that we're on slide 3. The computer will always remember where you were. As long as you click out of the course, once you have to leave it, you can come back and it will remember where you were. If you just leave the computer open and don't click out of the course and just let it time out, it will not keep your progress. So just remember to, if people are only able to take a short time to take a few of the slides at a time, that they do either click this X button at the bottom or click in the gray area surrounding the slide. And that way the computer will be able to remember where you were and be able to start your progress where you left off. Once an employee has finished their training, they also have the opportunity to review that training anytime during the year. So that information, those policies and procedures that you've developed, are always available for them to review. And also you have the opportunity to ask them to retake a course. So if there was perhaps a HIPAA breach that an employee was involved with, you might want to have them come in and retake the course as part of the mitigation process for taking care of that breach. Each of your employees also has access to our Request Help button. They can click that button, give us a call if they're having trouble printing a certificate or something like that. They can also type up their question in the text box and send it to us. And we'll get right back to them when they're taking their course. We'll be able to, if it's during normal business hours, we'll respond to them immediately. Your employees also have access to a video tutorial all of their own. If they open up this, it will just teach them how to complete the training, give them all of the information that I'm giving to you right now. Now, speaking of that help button, if we go back out to the dashboard, this is where you can also put in questions from a management point of view. So, for example, we had that question today on our chat box about what's the difference between the CME and regular courses. We could ask that question through the chat box, or again, you could contact us through the just over the phone. But if you do have just a quick question that you'd like to text to us, please feel free to do so. We'll get back to you. If it's a simple question like this, within the hour. If it's a more difficult and involved compliance question, it may take up to 24 hours. There are many tabs that we did not have a chance to touch on during our review today. But if you have any questions about any of the other tabs on the compliance dashboard or at the account level, please feel free to contact your CRS, your client relations specialist. You can feel free to reach out to me as well. My name is Michelle Lyman, and I'm the client relations manager. My extension is 112. I would encourage you to use the forms. We have hundreds of forms that can help you in managing your program. whether they're forms for HIPAA or OSHA or HR. Please feel free to use these. They're downloadable, customizable. You can also upload the forms if you decide that you have forms that you're using in your practice now that you'd like to have available on the HCP website. Click on your dashboard and it will open up a Forms Manager. If you have any questions about how to use the Forms Manager, I would encourage you to either give us a call or watch this quick tutorial. And also, please remember that you also have access to our reference guide, which is hundreds of pages of information on HIPAA, HR, OSHA, and corporate compliance. These reference guides are like an online three-ring binder for all of the compliance information you'd ever want access to. So please feel free to use those as well. So this has been our monthly refresher training. I hope that you've perhaps learned something new. I really appreciate the information that Brian shared with you earlier in the call about the updated information for the Office Admin Access. And if you have any questions at this point, please unmute your lines and share your questions with us now. Okay, otherwise we will close the call. Any questions for me? Again, my extension is 112. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd like to thank Brian again, and we'll.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.